Hey, hi, hello, yo, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I know, I've been MIA. A lot has taken place within the last 5 months since I've been on YouTube. I cannot believe what has happened, and we will get into it in this video. But I'm just happy to be back on YouTube because I love long form content. And I had to take a little bit of a break because unfortunately tragedy struck. I'm so happy to be back. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on what's coming to this channel. Girl, let's get into where I've been the last 5 months. Let me get a sip of coffee because truly this is some tea. Okay, so I started my YouTube sometime last summer and I was very consistent. And I wanted to show you guys a little bit of my life behind the scenes and my life in Georgia and also in New York because I'm back and forth from Georgia to New York, and just like fashion vlogs with my friends. That's what we were doing here. We were having fun. I was seriously having so much fun. And then one little night, a hurricane struck in Georgia. This was Hurricane Helene. We knew Hurricane Helene was coming. However.org/ we thought Hurricane Helene was going to hit Atlanta, not Augusta, where we are. We thought here we were just gonna get some high winds and rain. Boy, were we wrong. Because last minute, the hurricane took a sharp left or right, I don't know, child, and it hit Augusta. The night of September 27th changed our lives forever. We moved to Georgia the summer of 2022 for Addison's job, my husband. But we kept our place in New York because I'm back and forth from New York to Georgia because of work and everything like that. But, you know, I split my time, so I'm truly here like 50-50. So I go to New York every single month. This month in September, I was here. He was watching Twister. We were just kind of watching the storm and tracking and making sure that we were gonna be fine. We do all of the things that we normally do. We cook, we watch a movie, TV, go to bed. That night, I could not sleep because it was so stormy here. It was very gloomy, very windy. It was raining super hard, and I was just tracking how this storm was gonna go on my phone. So we go to bed at a normal time, 11 o'clock, 11:30, and I say go to bed lightly because I couldn't sleep. So I'm basically just laying here in this room in bed, feeling like something is off. I'm on my phone, I'm tracking the storm. I'm just like, this doesn't seem right. Like, I can't just lay here and like try to sleep through this hurricane. I don't know. So about, I want to say like midnight, the storm was heading our way. So the winds were picking up. I can't even remember how high the winds were. Honestly, some of this is like a little bit of a blur to me. But I'm laying in bed and I'm like, oh my God, the storm's here. The winds are getting high. I can hear it from outside. If you know anything about Georgia, there's a bunch of pine trees, especially in our neighborhood. Time is really like passing by, and around 3 o'clock in the morning, I get out of bed in this room and I head out to our living room because we have these big windows, and even though it was dark, it was very stormy. I could still see kind of what was happening because I'm of the belief that this is, I don't know what comedian said this, but it's like, this reminds me of what I was doing. You know, when you're on the plane and there's turbulence and people will look out the window, I tell that to my husband. He's like, "What? You can't see turbulence." And a comedian, I can't remember, said, "Oh, I can see turbulence. I need to see what is happening when the plane is shaking. I'm looking out the window. Even though you can't see turbulence, I can see turbulence." So basically that was what I was doing the night of the storm. I like went into the living room and I was like looking and just like watching these pine trees sway. I was like, 4:20 comes around, all the power goes off in the neighborhood. It is in our house. It's pitch black. Addison came running out of the room and he started lighting candles. And then there was something in me that said, we need to go. We need to leave. And he's like, where do you want to go? And I'm like, well, we could go to your base because there's not really that many mature trees around. I think we'll be safe there. We could just wait it out in his office. We quickly get dressed, we grab the dog, and we stupidly drove through the storm. Now, looking back, I'm grateful, and I'm also like, what were we thinking? We weren't thinking. Like, who drives through a storm? Typically, it takes Addison about 20 to 25 minutes to get to work every single day. Driving through the storm, it took us about an hour and a half to get to his job. 18 minutes of being in the car, we get this notification on our phones that there was a crash in the living room from our alarm system. A tree fell on the house. And Addison's, God love him, he's like optimistic. He's like, you know, it's probably just like maybe a branch hit the window, you know, something. It may not be a tree, but I'm thinking the worst because I'm like, I've never been in this situation before. I don't know what to expect, but our alarm system just said that there was a crash in the living room, and I doubt that is a branch. But sometimes our alarm system will do that even with renovations here. Like if they're drilling or something, it'll say like crash, loud noise heard wherever, whatever room they're working in. Just like praying, I'm like, God, please get us to a safely. Like just get us here safely. Mostly I wanted to get out of the neighborhoods that had big trees. I wanted us to get on a highway where we would be like a little more safe where, you know, trees weren't around. So we finally get to base. We get to Addison's office. There's no power at the base. I think their backup generator kicked on, so we had lights. And so we're waiting it out in the office, and we were there for probably about an hour and a half. The storm passed through and we're like, okay, let's go back home. So we get in a car, and on the way home, we get a text from our neighbor, and he's like, I'm so sorry about your house. And we're like, oh my God. I don't even text back. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't. We pull up, and there are 2 massive pine trees on our house, and our neighborhood looks like a war zone. There are trees everywhere. There's debris everywhere. There's trash everywhere. So we pull up to the house. There's 2 trees on our house, and I'm like, I start crying, and everybody was like walking around the neighborhood just looking at all of the destruction. And that was one time where I was like, wow, humanity is not lost, because we were all just kind of like really being positive and trying to rally around one another to just, you know, stay strong and stay positive. And we're like, this is gonna, you know, we have insurance, everything's gonna be taken care of, you know, even though this is a mess, and everybody's okay. And I was just hearing stories from other neighbors, like what they went through that night, and we told them that we drove to base, and they're like, what, are you crazy? And then one of my neighbors, she was like, her and her husband were basically in a corner of their room because a tree fell on their bedroom, missed them, and then they couldn't escape their bedroom because the tree had like blocked their door. So they were waiting the storm out in the corner of their room. Another one of my neighbors said that she and her husband waited in their basement because a tree came through their house. It was just crazy. So that day, walked around the neighborhood. I was calling family and friends and just telling them that we were okay. I'll insert some photos and stuff here of like the neighborhood. But we were just walking around and seeing the destruction, and a lot of our neighbors were just walking around too. I mean, it looked crazy. Like I've never seen anything like it. And we just got what we could from the house, and we left, and we stayed at a rental for 3 months. So this was end of September until like I want to say the first week of January. We were living in a rental, and now we're back in our home. And we're lucky because A, we were safe, B, insurance took care of everything, and C, the damages to our house it was bad, but it was salvageable. Like we could save everything, and it was fairly quick to fix everything in our house. Like I'm looking out right now, and some people still have tarps on their house, but we were lucky enough we had already been renovating this house, so we had workers who could come in and get started ASAP. Like I want to say within like 2 weeks after the storm, we were starting to rehab our house. So the rooms that were affected were our bedroom, our living room, and our dining room. So a tree came through our bedroom, and a tree came through 1/3 of our living room, and then the dining room is right beside the living room. So the tree that came through the living room, a branch stuck through and damaged the dining room ceiling. And with that, all of the walls were water damage. It was just a mess, so we had to rehab that whole thing. But we only had 3 rooms affected in our house, which I know this is crazy, but we were really, really lucky. And I'm really happy that we survived a hurricane, and I'm happy that something in me told us to get out, even though it was, looking back, I'm like, we drove through a hurricane. Like, that's also kind of dumb. But again, you're not thinking in these types of situations. Yeah, so if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen that I've shared everything since, you know, we've started renovations in the house. If you go to like my highlights, you can see home reno 1, home reno 2. I save a lot of stuff there. I've done like a lot of posts and reels and, you know, TikToks and things like that. But something in me didn't want to pick up this camera and like film what was happening. Even though I shared it on social platforms, I was like checked out in the sense of like sharing it on YouTube. And I was so busy with so many other things, like, you know, Instagram, that's where all of my work is. So I had to stay consistent on Instagram and TikTok, and this was so new. I was just like, I don't feel like recording this right now, but I just wasn't in the right headspace to do so. But I'm sharing now, and it was a whirlwind. One of the scariest things I've ever experienced in my life. But I just wanted to share that story with you guys. You know, there was a lot of good things that came out of the storm for a lot of our neighbors, you know, even like little home renovations that they wanted to do. They're like, oh, now we can do them. There was only one house in our neighborhood that got completely destroyed, and they had to demo the whole thing and start from scratch. The house that they're building now is beautiful. So, you know, kudos to them, and they were safe. Even looking out, because I'm facing the windows right now, our neighborhood just looks different. Girl, there's no trees. There's trees, but there's no trees. So after the storm, the 2 trees that hit our house, all the other trees around gots to go. They gots to go. And we live in a neighborhood that was, our house is from the 50s. And I think this neighborhood, I mean, it's like an older, well-established neighborhood. So these pine trees are old, honey. I'm talking hundreds of years old. Big pine tree that fell, that stump was completely uprooted. And then the second one that hit our bedroom, that tree split in half. So we got rid of those trees. I was like, the rest of these trees they've truly got to go. But we had to wait a little bit because a lot of people take advantage of tragic situations. So the tree removal services were charging an arm and a leg to remove trees, and it was crazy. And I know how much tree removal usually costs because we got 2 trees removed from the yard that we were concerned about. So thank God I got those trees removed, because those would have come down on the house too. So now there's like no trees in the neighborhood, and it looks really weird because it's winter, so there's no leaves on the tree, so everything just looks super open. You can see everybody's house. Yeah, I was like, we got to get rid of these trees because I never want to go through this ever again, and I never want to see a pine tree again ever in my life. I just wanted to share that story. Maybe this video was all over the place. Maybe this video was, I don't know. I just wanted to like sit down and explain where I've been for the last couple of months, and I'm just so happy that we're okay and that we can kind of like close this chapter and move on from what happened, because it was crazy. But thank you guys for watching. I can't wait to jump back on this platform and share more with you guys. I'll be sharing the renovation process here on YouTube too. I know I'm sharing a lot on Instagram and TikTok, but I wanted to, that's originally why I started this channel. I wanted to share like fashion and renovations. But yeah, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Don't miss out on any other videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.